everyone. I'm very happy to be moderating this session because it is a very fun session, because you will be hearing 6 practices of excellence in terms of transferring knowledge and results. So our 6 wonderful colleagues here will explain to you their experience, because 1 year ago we have welcomed 6 new projects in our community. They had the aim to transfer outputs and results in other territories of the Mediterranean. And they had, more specifically, they had to choose 1 or 2 outputs that they would transfer. They had to choose new territories that would adopt these outputs, and together, all of them, they have integrated and have implemented these outputs in the new territories. So I don't want to take much of the time because this is their time, and I would like to ask Kostas, Carolina, Nicola, Barbara, Fabio, and Stefano to explain to us what happened with their experience. Thank you very much.
You are too far.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dora. So I will be the one starting. So, no. Okay. So our transferring project is called Emblematic Plus, and this is a transferring project of the emblematic Mediterranean mountains as coastal destinations of excellence. Let's see exactly what is the case with our project. I should step up. So we started with 6 mountains around, with 9 mountains around the Mediterranean Sea. You can see with orange, Olympus, Petraforca, Canigo, but also with purples, Saint Victoire, Serra de Ramudana, Gran Sasso, Etna, Ivi and Chika from Albania. So these were the partners from the initial project, but then we expanded, we find the receivers, and you can see now that the Mediterranean area is full of mountains that where we have transferred our results. Partners like Modilesini, Kojak, Komovi and Stroboli, but also associate partners in Slovenia, in Croatia, but also in Spain. But you can see also some bullets here, because here are areas that we have been conducted the last year, because they want to expand also our transferring guide and to what we have done up to now. So the methodology was very typical. So we start with presenting the transferring guide to the receivers, to designing the process, to present this process to them, to execute the process, and finally to support the receivers in order to draft the local implementation action plans. So we started with webinars. We were lucky because we have planned webinars, and due to the COVID, we have already the alternative, because we started presenting the transfer guide to our receivers via the webinars. And then we have a very detailed transferring process, because we had to transfer the term of reference, the 30 attributes of our transferring guide. These were done with continuous reports, with deliveries, with communications between givers and receivers. But what was most important was the stakeholders' involvement. But of course, we have also assessment field visits. We have to go to each one of the receivers' areas, and of course, to do the diagnostics about what was going to be implemented on the ground there. We present the transferring process to the receivers in our first TNM1. We were very lucky because there were no restrictions during October last year. And then we have a continuous reporting process. So it was at least 3 reports with written feedback to each one of the 4 receivers. We have bilateral online meetings, at least 2 with each of the receiver. And of course, all the receivers have to organize, have to implement meetings with the stakeholders. And we needed at least 2 meetings with their stakeholders for each receiver. And believe me, during a period of 13 months, this was too much to be done for the receiver, and we were very lucky, and it was a good outcome, a successful outcome. And then we have the assessment field visits. So the givers visited the receivers in order to see on the field what could be done, what could be implemented. There were 4 diagnostic reports on what to do, and of course, finally, 4 local implementation action plans, one of each dedicated to one of the involved areas in order to fully implement the transferring process that was initially introduced in our initial project, and that was transferred via the emblematic Plus project. Thank you. This was more or less the process we have followed. You can find more detail in our contact details, and we can say more during the question and answer session. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kostas. Before moving on, if I may, we would very much welcome your impression about the activities that you will hear. So we would very much like to hear from you how you find these activities, if you have any more suggestions, if you have new territories that you would like for us to transfer, this would be nice. Thank you. So yes, we expect it through the app, so please use it. Thank you. Thank you, Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm going to introduce TourisMed Plus, that is quite similar to the process that we follow as emblematic. I'm happy to see that the projects are following the same methodology that is working on capitalization and transferring process. Well, I'm going to introduce a little bit TourisMed. TourisMed Plus is the continuation of the capitalization of TourisMed. As most of you know, TourisMed was a project that aimed at testing also a new sustainable tourism model, that is fishing tourism. In the previous project, we tested and developed new business model for this kind of touristic service, this fishing model, in the coastal territories of Italy, Cyprus, Greece, Albania, France, and Spain. And well, as one of the final outputs of TourisMed was this business model, precisely this business model, and the program luckily selected as one of the capitalization outputs to be included in this new call. And therefore, we were excited with the idea of capitalize this experience, because we are passionate about new touristic models, and in particular fishing activity. And why we are excited and passionate about this new business model. Because fishing experiences are a win-win situation, not only for local community, but also for tourists. Why? From my perspective. Because for fishermen, is an extra way of having revenues, extra incomes. In this manner, is supporting this traditional job, and also is decreasing the pressure that the fisherman has to capture fishes. In this way, we are also preserving the coastal and marine resources, and then we are contributing to be greener in this sense, and the blue economy. For communities, because it's also creating value with new touristic products, and it's also promoting this destination, and also is dispersing the flows, and it's also diversifying the touristic offers on some local communities. And of course, it's also attractive for tourists, because they have new alternative to this destination, to have more culture about the destination. And also, if you think about tourists, they are also gaining knowledge about this traditional job, and also about the marine resources that we have in our local communities. And in this way, they appreciate also not only the marine resources, but also the price when you are going to buy fish on the market. Therefore, it's also creating awareness about sustainability. And therefore, we decided to go for the capitalization for all these reasons, and because we believe in this model, mainly. And that's how TourisMed Plus was born. Therefore, it's a project in 30 months that we have to be very tight on the schedule because we have so many outputs to produce. This is the partnership that we built. We are 3 givers in Spain, in France, and in Italy. And we have 3 new territories, in Italy, in Montenegro, and in Bosnia, and some associate partners that are supporting also this capitalization process. Therefore, we built this project based in several pillars, but as we have already here, our main pillars were engagement, political engagement, and capacity building. And I will explain later how we achieve this goal. Well, and we have a very good and ambitious goals. As you can see, we propose to have some policy draft papers at the end, proposing new recommendation for these new territories to implement this new model. Also, a memorandum of understanding engaging policy making and in these receiving countries, these receiving territories, I mean, and capacity building session in order to reinforce the information and the model and the learning process about this business model. And also, we want to build a permanent policy forum on fishing tourism based on what we already did in TourismEd1, that is this European Fishing Tourist Association. Well, we have a very tight schedule with a lot of activities to be carried out in only 30 months. And how does TourismEd Plus capitalize this business model? Well, in a very simple way of explaining, because it's similar what Konstantinos already explained, we are capitalizing TourismEd by learning and doing. We have built several committees within the consortium built by the givers, that we have our knowledge on the previous experience, not only the things that going well, but also the things that don't not well so right. And therefore, we can explain what was the process. And we also work together with them. Therefore, we built a capacity building committee taking care of all the planning of all the activities related to capacity building sessions. And therefore, we have these capacity building sessions and a program of training and guidance for the receiving countries. And doing, because they have to do also something in their territories. They have to make an engagement plan for policies makers. They should also set up these territorial working groups and drafting the business model, and also to define this policy draft paper, but always with the support of the mainstreaming committee, that the mainstreaming committee is built always by givers and receivers. In these regards, the receivers are carrying out activities in their territory with their local stakeholders in their own language, but we are always having, after these sessions, some sessions in order to review the conclusions, in order to foster a new proposal, in order to review and give feedback about the process that they are carrying out. Therefore, it has been a very intense month working by hand with our receivers. This is a picture of the 3 capacity sessions that luckily we were able to do physically, because that has sense to do it physically, because the capacity building sessions are built in a mixed way with some lessons, but also with informal speeches with the local people that has been on the ground working on the project, because you have to engage people from the ground to arrive to the political level. You have to be committed, therefore you have to have knowledge and know the reality of this business model. And just to finalize, this is the training and guidance guideline that we already developed, and an example of the result that is a business model from Molise, that he's also here. I'm happy to have some project partners here also with me supporting this capitalization session. And we will tell you more about the results during our final conference in Molise, that all of you are invited next 21 and 22 of June. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina. Do we have the presentation of Nicola?
Yes, already sent it.
Okay. Maybe you can start with
Some problem with the
some
presentation.
information.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, thanks a lot. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Dora, for your introduction. And thanks to all the people who organized this MED event, giving me the opportunity now to share with all of you the main result and output of our Alter Eco Plus project. I would like to start my presentation pointing out a key point that, in my opinion, we have been listening to during all our, let's say, sustainable tourism discourses during the work, the roundtable of this morning and yesterday, that concern a very simple but important fact, in my opinion, that says something like this, that there's a limit to the quantity, the amount of tourism that a tourism destination can bear. In other words, there's once again, and especially for the region of the Med space, the need to start again to pay more attention to the well-known concept of touring carrying capacity, meant as, let's say, the limit of tourism beyond which tourism starts to be, let's say, bad, unmanageable, harmful for the destination, and start to produce most costs than benefits for the destination itself, as well as, of course, for the local community, for the people working for the industry, and of course also for, let's say, the tourists and the quality of their experience and their holiday, of course. So, well, Alter Eco Plus project focuses exactly on this topic and focuses then on the need to be able to quantify, to calculate, operationally speaking, the tourism carrying capacity of a destination. More specifically, our project sought to design a tourism carrying capacity limit calculation tool, as I said, to improve the tourism policies and strategies in the Med territories. And the way that we decide, according also to our background, our scientific background, to cope with this problem, let's say in few words, is a problem of optimization. That is the optimization, let's say, of the compromise between two opposite needs. On one hand, of course, the need, that is something that is natural for us, to maximize the monetary gain of the tourism sector. And of course, on the other hand, the need to control all the negative effects that the tourism industry can exert on at the destination level. Operationally, scientifically, mathematically speaking, is a problem that can be solved in terms of a linear programming goal problem. And it is then a problem of, let's say, of benefit maximization under the presence of a number of different constraints that represent the stress variable by the so-called tourism subsystem of a destination, as I said, can be easily solved as a linear programming goal. Of course, so that all of what I'm talking about now can be, let's say, quite complex and complicated for the day-by-day management of a destination. The main output of our project was to realize a very easy, let's say, accessible online tool where anyone can start to exercise him or herself with the calculation of the touring carrying capacity. It is a tool that is online, it is reachable through our official website, and I repeat, anyone from manager of DMO rather than, I don't know, a private entrepreneur of the tourist destination can start to calculate the touring carrying capacity of the destination that they are dealing with. It's very simple, and as I said, anyone can use it. Well, to conclude, Alter Eco Plus project calculator tool is provide, let's say, indication on how many tourists a destination can bear without violating the specific constraint of a destination. Then, more in general, is a tool that supports the quantification of the tourism pressure that a tourist destination can bear, but of course, beyond, let's say, also the simulation that someone can experiment with our tool is also a tool that supports stakeholders, the local policymaker in the design, identification, implementation of let's say, recommendation and policies, the strategies, using the calculation that you have performed through this tool. Our project, let's say, allows us then to transfer this tool to a group of receiver partners of our project, who are the TARD for the region, from Spain, from Montenegro, from Croatia, from Greece. And since they collaborate with 3 different, let's say, local case studies from each country, so we obtain the possibility to transfer our tool to a total amount of 12 local destinations through the online meeting, because of course, as you know, and also during the last week, also in person with the stakeholders through a number of local meetings with the local stakeholders. We also we were able to disseminate the tool with other stakeholders from the med industry in general. Next week, we are going to have the final event of our project, and we invite a lot of people from the entire med space and the tourism sector of med space to come to Venice to enjoy our final meeting. And more in general, let's say that is a project that whose main goal was to reinforce the sense of awareness about the importance of addressing the problems of tourism sustainability, combining, let's say, also the scientific knowledge that we provide stakeholders with as a university, together, of course, the capabilities, abilities, experiences, performance tested by the government, the tourism industry in general, also the citizens, the tourists as well, according to the so-called quadruple helix approach. Lesson that we learned, just recap 2 lessons, very important in my opinion. That is, first, this kind of tool works when we need the data. It's something that also other people already explained. We need to feed our tool to make it working properly, and we recognize that, of course, there are still problematic in this regard. I mean, in the sense of the local stakeholder can collect data at local municipality level. So we had to work together, of course, on this point. On the other hand, the second point, the second lesson, is that destinations are really happy to receive, really interested to receive this kind of smart solutions. But again, I think, I realize that they really need a collaboration, again, between the university and they need university, let's say the scientific background that the university can give to them, and to work with them in practical, to find solutions to practical problems. So according to, let's say, a mutual exchange of information and knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola.
Sorry.
No need.
Okay.
Thank you. Good morning to everybody, and sorry, Dora, because I will be a little out of the box, because actually I suppose to concentrate on the lesson learned of our project and this second phase of Project Plus. And so I take inspiration, talking of many of you during these days, but the main inspiration arrived yesterday, reading the T-shirt of a guy in the metro. That was a sentence saying that life must be lived forward, but can only understood backwards. It's a sentence of Kierkegaard, and I was thinking, we are doing this here. We are doing what we did, the lesson learned, and sharing experience. And so I prepared these few questions, sentence, thought, to share with you, talking with you, And what happened is that I understood that we didn't talk about what we did, but we talked about how we did. We talked about our feeling doing this, about our emotions, about our passion doing what we did in our projects. And we contaminated, as Alain was saying yesterday, we contaminated talking. And I understood that also talking about future now, we were not talking about sharing and merging results, but try to understand how we can maintain this passion, how we can enhance this, how we can bring more people to have this passion working on this project. And we understood that we had this added value because we worked with people. We were there on the ground. And we work with real people. And so many speakers yesterday talk about what we should do to reach goal. But my question is often how we can do this. And I think that many of you, not only we are here, many of you are tools ready to be used. And I would know how many of you have this. So raise your hands. How many of you think to have ready to use tool to apply tomorrow? 1, 2, 3, 4. Please. No, don't be shy. 5, yeah, all is. Don't be shy because it's what the JTS asks for the next generation of projects. They want tools to replicate, to apply, just to enhance, but we need to have these tools. And I think we have these tools. Also, the last speakers said before, Xavier, if I remember well, we have many tools. We just to understand how we need to apply, how we can reach the ground, because the impact is there, is at the local level. We need just to understand how. And yesterday, for example, I talked with Valentina Superti, the European Commission expert that was here, and she highlights that the need to engage in the tourism, the familiar facilities that ESME is, that are the majority of the actors of the tourism industry. And she suggests us to involve them, to engage them, for a certification at the European level. And in my mind, there was like a crash. I mean, familiar facilities, small facilities, and European certification. How? It's like a crash. And after the speech, I was there, sorry. Can I ask something? How do you think we can do this? Because if you work with this actor, you know that for them, the European certification, eco-label, is something so complex, so complex. And so I started to told her our experience on Consumerless Plus, that is working very well, but it is easy, it's friendly. And I was discussing for a lot of time, actually, with her. It was a very interesting discussion about how we can, in the contrary, make this tool, bottom-up tool, easy and friendly tools, can become more officially, but without losing the light part. Because all the time that we have more official tools, the risk is that we lost the ground. So this is my problem, and this is the question that actually I would like a little share and open with you for the next chat during the break and the lunch, and stimulate a little the discussion, because I don't think that be funny or happy that before somebody correct and say they are happy to receive, they are interesting to receive. No, they need to be happy. Because, I mean, we need funny, happy, light tools. And so the question is how we can transform tools to be a little more in touch with the ground without losing the idea that they are serious or effective for this. And so, just to close, my suggestion, my hope, and that we are able, for the next generation project, to write slow, easy, avant-garde projects. Slow, in particular. We need time. We need time to reach some results. We put a lot of things on the project, and after we need to wrap. No, time, slow projects, to have time to contaminate, as we did during this day, also during the project. Because we need to stay together during the project. We need time. And just to close with the slogan of the consumers, actually, less is more. And now is our mood. I mean, less is more. And that's all. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for this intervention. I think you gave me a lot of ideas for questions afterwards. So, Fabio, we'll continue with you.
Hello, everybody. So I will talk to you about BlueMed Plus. That is a continuation of the capitalization of BlueMed. Maybe you have seen it from the output catalogs and so on. BlueMed worked on the enhancing and the promotion of a sustainable tourism, focusing on diving tourism about underwater cultural heritage. So among the various outputs in BlueMed, we produced various deliverables that are mainly tools, guidelines, about how to create and promote underwater cultural heritage. So create accessible underwater cultural sites that can be promoted through diving, through snorkeling, in that way. In BlueMed Plus, we were asked to work on one of these outputs, that is the roadmap. The roadmap for BlueMed approach replication. That was the best probably output because it collected all the main outputs of the BlueMed project. And the goal of this roadmap is to assist receiving territories in creating and promoting new underwater cultural heritage sites. Or by, let's say, defining the strategies that you need, and we will see all the steps in the next slides. But it is not just about creating the trials underwater, so the paths underwater, the itineraries. It's also about creating on-land, let's say, that on-land centers that we call knowledge awareness centers that are focused on in promoting the awareness among the local population and the tourists about the need to preserve our natural and cultural underwater heritage. So in the Knowledge Awareness Center, we try to create the link between nature and culture to explain the people how we need to preserve this really important heritage that we preserve underwater. So how the process of the transferring process works, mainly focusing on training and capacity building, supporting the networking with the local stakeholder, and supporting also the adaptation and the adoption of the roadmap. So this is everything for promoting sustainable and responsible diving tourism. The givers were three partners from BlueMed that was led by University of Calabria, BlueMed Plus, while Region of Thessaly was the former leader of BlueMed, and Atlantis Consulting that was, let's say, the responsible for the roadmap in BlueMed. Region of Thessaly probably know they started a very important process thanks to BlueMed, opening the first accessible underwater cultural heritage site in Greece with the impressive underwater museum of Peristera. That was really a great impact, a direct impact of BlueMed. The receivers were Apulia region in Italy and the municipality of Vlora in Albania, municipality of Budva in Montenegro. So we had the luck to find these three territories that are on the same small portion of Adriatic Sea, and then this is also a possible, let's say, starting point for the creation of a sustainable multi-destination tourism product. Underwater diving tourism is really peculiar. It is because it gives the possibility to promote a small destination with a local approach, because it is sustainable in various aspects that you find resumed in this slide. I don't want to spend the time because the time ran out. But one is very important, that is deseasonalization, because diving is possible in Mediterranean Sea almost all the year long, especially for, let's say, technical divers and, let's say, people that are really passionate about that. So this is one of the key aspects that is important to present to the river territories, to try to motivate them to invest in this kind of tourism. But there are also a lot of challenges, because opening accessible underwater cultural heritage site requires a strong networking and involvement of a lot of stakeholders, from ministries, coast guards, obviously the business parts and so on. And there is a lot of problems in safeguarding and maintaining underwater and natural also cultural heritage sites and preserving them from any possible problem that also diving tourism can cause to them. Moreover, they need to this requires the preparation and the creation of multi-destination tourist products, and to define weekly products, because people that dive and that move for diving, they need at least 1 week of, let's say, vacation when they move for this. And also the quality of the services that should be very high. The transferring process was based on a lot of workshops that we did at the beginning, obviously, remotely, and at the end, fortunately, in May, we did the stakeholder in presence, with the workshop in presence with the stakeholders, and this was really amazing, because we finally put together all these heterogeneous set of actors that have to work together to complete all the steps of the methodology, the roadmap that you see are quite complex, because it requires a lot of data collection, and having data for diving tourism is not so easy, because it's not structured in standard database. It is a niche market, but with a big potential, and there is a lack of specific data about that. And there are also issues about the management and operation that requires interaction with ministries, superintendencies, efforts, and whatever are involved in cultural and protection and natural heritage protection, like marine protected area, for example. So that's all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Fabio.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Stefano Munoz. I'm coming from University of Camerino and representing here the Costing Plus project. I would like to give you a very short overview of the project, of the results. And this is, of course, as the other project, the prosecution of another project that was Costing. We have two givers partner that were from Spain and from Croatia, and four receiver partner from Italy, Greece, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Spain again. So the goal was the transferring of a methodology that was defined in the previous project to these new receiver partners. The methodology is a methodology that was motivated from the river contract, and is the cost contract that was developed during the costing project. So in these new 5 areas, we would like to try to transfer this methodology, and we would like to bring them to apply the beginning of the process, because the methodology of the cost contract is a voluntary methodology. Sorry, this is the difference between the two projects, and with the 5 areas that are involved in the project. So the difference between what we would like to do is that they start this process because it's a voluntary process that will involve the territory in a strategic planning to define which are the needs and the goals that the area needs to have a sustainable tourism approach. And so with the results that we had in the costing, we structured the project at the same way as the others, with learning phase at the beginning and then training and doing phase. In this moment, we are at mostly at the end of the project, because the project will end at the end of June, and I can say that was a very satisfactory project because all the receiver partners participate in the activities, and by using, of course, instruments like workshop and training session, we transfer the methodology, and then we prepare also for the partners, for the receiver partners, learning course that now is online in our website, and we prepare a lot of material. We also investigate some other best practice during the project that we upload in Wiki Costing. That is an instrument that we produce during the costing project. And that's it. And so you can find also this platform that has contents but best practice produced between the two projects. And also we have an agreement with another project to TuneUp, that is another MED project, that start to produce documents and information that will be uploaded in the Wiki Costing. And this is one of the aspects that we think is interesting, because we participate in many projects, and in all the projects we have a platform, and then we have a wiki instrument, and we have plenty of this information, but we have difficult in matching these resources. And so it was very important for us to have these two projects that use a kind of same methodology to fill the same database. Sorry, I tried to go up. Now we are in the phase that all the territories are signing the local protocol. That is the first document that you sign when you start the process of the contract process. And at the local, at the final conference, that will be in the 20th and the 21st in Dubrovnik, all the partners will sign a memorandum of understanding in the use of this methodology and in the prosecution of this process. I have to. So this is just the example that we do as University of Camerino in the Sentina Reserve that is on the Adriatic coast. It was interesting because we apply the costing methodology that is linked to sustainable tourism in an area that already had a contract. It was a wetland contract for the protection of the wetland of Sentina. And so we introduce in a contract already set some elements linked to sustainable tourism. So we have the environmental protection together with action that will be devoted to sustainable tourism in the same act. So this, I would like just to point your attention on this. And so these are the team. There was the picture of the costing, of the end of costing at the final conference when all the costing signed the protocol. I hope to have another picture in a few weeks of the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding in Dubrovnik. I hope to stay in the 5 minutes, and that's it. If you have questions, I will be on the floor.
Thank you, Stefano, and thanks to all of you. You have presented us very good experiences. Before going to any questions from the audience or maybe reading your impressions of what you have heard, I have a question for all of you. which is based on what you have presented us. My question has two parts. So the first part is that, as you, Barbara, said, we need to find out how to motivate new territories to adopt tools that are already put in place. They are already available, and usually they are very easy to use. But in order to do that, I think part of the answer is we need to identify the most appropriate conditions that would create a very good environment to receive these tools, to receive this knowledge. And I wanted to ask all of you, what are these appropriate conditions? What has emerged in your projects, maybe as obstacles, and how do you think we can motivate better new territories? Maybe we can start backwards with Stefano this time.
Okay. Yes. It's very difficult sometimes to involve the local stakeholders because sometimes it takes a lot of time, and also sometimes they are a little bit overstressed, as we were discussing before, because they are involved in many projects. As the projects become more and more, for example, when we speak for Centina, we have Italia-Croatia project, MED project, then University of Camerino, then University of Ancona. So they are involved in many projects, and sometimes are involved in the process, but it's difficult to see results for them. And so they ask us for, yes, I participate, I give you idea, but then which will be results? And so the main element is to have practical results for the stakeholders that you have involved. Because when you lost them, they're lost. It's very difficult to engage again. And so for us was a very key element that the stakeholder in Centina participated in another project, but they asked, when we start this new, why you involve again? And we finish in few months this new project, and so this is very important risk over stressing. And another key element for us is the involvement of the regional administration. This will be, it's always very, very difficult to have the support of regions. And so for us to make really efficient our results and make the results active, we need their participation. They have to be stimulated more in listening what the territories are producing, maybe with European projects or other type of projects.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Fabio?
Yeah, in the case of BlueMed and BlueMed Plus, since it's focused on the promotion of natural and underwater cultural heritage, things are a bit different from probably the rest, because it's not a matter of promoting the adoption of a tool. It's a matter of promoting the investment on the promotion of underwater cultural heritage and natural heritage. So if the territories want to do that, they have tools that can use. You have just to convince them that it is a good idea, it's a good choice, it is sustainable, it is profitable to invest, to focus on this kind of tourism for several reasons that were, let's say, in the slide. And then, when they take this decision, and we are talking about local authorities, governments, bodies, and companies, they have the tools that come from BlueMed about, for example, the guidelines for the protection and the maintenance of the underwater sites, the guidelines on how to open a knowledge awareness center, the guidelines about how to create an itinerary, because it needs really, let's say, concrete actions like put the buoy and define the rules to access on the site, and something like this, really concrete stuff that in general public authorities are not aware, because for them, as we had in Vlora and Budva, they were completely new for this kind of tourism. So in our case, this was mainly the issue. There is a particular kind of stakeholders that are really relevant, that are the authorities related to the protection of cultural and natural heritage. In this case, it is not sufficient to understand that it's a good investment, that it's something good for sustainable tourism. In this case, first of all, we have to start from the idea that we are under the umbrella of the UNESCO Convention about the protection of underwater cultural heritage. Fortunately, we have this, let's say, document, this convention that is signed by most of the countries in Europe. And this gives us the possibility to see, okay, no, you are acting under something that is worldwide, let's say, accepted, that you can promote underwater the cultural heritage without recovering them if they are not at risk for any, let's say, human or natural threat. And this is something that requires more engagement. But we have seen from the experience of Blue Med Plus that putting them around the table and starting the discussion, probably for the first time in some territories, it's something that works, because probably in our case they never talked, and so they started the discussion, they started to sit in front of the roadmap and try to understand how this can be applied in their territory, and then customize it and adopt it through some political action in the receiving territory.
Mm-hmm. Very important. Thank you.
Okay. Well, for our experience, and actually, the PLUS project were a very good exercise to have not so much money, to be honest, because I mean, I don't know how you work, but the receiver said really a small amount and a really short time. So it was really changeling. And in Consumerless, we decided to be more and more ambitious, because we decided to involve 4 new countries. No, Consumerless involved 9 countries in the Mediterranean. Without meat before, I mean, and it was so successfully. Why? 2 main ingredients. One, we met with passionate people. That was what I was saying before. You have to believe in what you are trying to transfer. If you don't believe in what you are doing, try to ask somebody to adopt, nobody will adopt. So we believed in what we created. We transferred these to the new partners that in few months said, hey, why not? I mean, can work. And they had able in few months to transfer this to external actors never met before, never listened about Consumerless, and we reached more than 30 new actors, institutional, that decide to put money to make demonstrative measures. That actually is the other step that is important. We need to have a vision, clear vision, because we know that the complexity of a problem. I'm smiling a lot, but I'm very pessimist about future. Very pessimist. I mean, it's really a problem. I don't know how we can manage. But we need to have this vision, dynamic. We understand the complexity, but what we need to propose to our actors is a fast, easy, and simple step. Because if we are right there with a lot of words, a lot of plan, a lot of ambition, there will be stop. And also, I will just open data. Not mention data after few months before engage and after talk about data, information. So for us, it was a win-to-win approach, because as before the NICA, sorry, because I just used the name, but it's too complex, it was saying, you need to start a process with the actors. You cannot just try to solve everything in the same time. And normally they are aware about problems. Probably not about water so much, and so we need to talk later. But about the other issues, they are aware. So just come there and take time to start a process with them. And it's not a problem of money, because our partners demonstrate that external actors were able to invest money just because they understood their role and the opportunity to make this easy step. Not to solve everything, but just, okay, this step I can do. And I understand how and what I will achieve. This is easy approach with a long-term vision.
Thank you, Barbara.
Well, I cannot put so much passion like her, of course, but trying to be creative and pragmatic in the meantime. I think that in order to overcome the obstacles that we are talking about, I think that a project, let's say, have not just to deliver output, but they have to explain how to use the output. They have then to accompany the output with clear, let's say, analysis of the obstacles that stakeholders can counter. And these obstacles have to be not just technical, but also of economic and social nature. Because sometimes you don't apply tool because of a number of different reasons, also of let's say, social nature. I think that as a second, let's say, idea, is that to work in the direction of create, let's say, moment, platform where stakeholder can share idea, knowledge, like Living Lab, Policy Lab are, of course, very important in this field. And the third pragmatic way, I think that we have to go on, in any case, to plan a grant and, let's say, financial incentives for the stakeholder to use let's say, a top-down approach, the tool that we are going to create also in the future. This is three different approaches that, in my opinion, we can take into consideration in a pragmatic way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm not to add anything new. I'm going to support the speech of my colleagues. I think we need these ingredients and we need passion. That I think we saw that we are passionate about projects that we are working to, but we also need passionate receivers. That means local community should receive this input because they are willing to implement something. Therefore, they have to be engaged and committed from the beginning. And they need also the support of course, the regional government, because, for instance, in our case, there are some legislation, some regulations that in some manners should be adapted in order to foster this model. Therefore, we need passionate people convinced of implementing these new models, but also this political support that is necessary in order to make all the regulation align with this process. Therefore, we need these two main factors always align in the same time and in the same right moment, because sometimes we have it, but not in the region and not in the same moment. And also, of course, we need also support from the financial point of view, but this is secondary. From my perspective, the necessary is to have commitment and to have also engagement for the political support. And I agree that things should be easy. Therefore, you have to give the things to your government in a simpler and easier way. And that's what we try also to do in TourisMed, to build this business model and also translate it into recommendations to be implemented in the regulation in a very simple manner, just to ask for things that can be implemented in an easy way.
Mm-hmm. Very important. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree with what the rest of the speakers said. It's not like defining a tool and say to the receivers, okay, I don't know, Stefano hasn't implemented it, you can take it and you can do it like that. It's not the way to attract the receivers, and it's not the way on how to motivate them. I mean, the receivers need to see, need to feel, need to become familiarized with the good practices. And this can only happen if we involve them and if they give them opportunity to see the experience directly talking not only to the givers, but also to the local stakeholders in the areas of the givers to understand what is going on. It's not only involving them on what we have done. It's about going to their areas to see what are the problems, what we have to do. And what more is that we have to be there for them. And they have to also come to the areas that these tools have been implemented, to see how these tools have been implemented. Okay, and okay, maybe somebody will say that this will increase the carbon footprint, and I don't know if we travel, if they will come, if we go, if something like that will happen. But I have the view that we should not demonize traveling, okay, because the final result will be a tourist model that has much more lower footprint, carbon footprint. So maybe in the beginning we have to exchange, we have to travel, we have to work on the field, but then in the end the result is much more multiplied towards lowest carbon footprint. So let's not demonize traveling. And probably we are here with horizontal project, we are here with the program, with the GS, and probably we can be all together somehow with interested parties and existing parties to make exchanges in a big, I don't know, forum to see what we have who are interested to be involved. We have to say that to select our receivers, we have done, let's say, an assessment process. We have 15 organizations that want to become part of this Emblematic Plus project. So we have to do an evaluation and finally to define the 4+4 associate receivers. So it was not, there is interest from new organizations to take the tools and to implement it. And this could be done with the modular projects, with the support of the horizontal project, with the support of the GS that give us the opportunity to transfer, to give the opportunity to newcomers to implement the tools. But it's not like it has to be in a bottom-up approach. It's not like giving them the tools. We have to make a process, to implement the process, to support. I could speak more, but I think we are a bit late. Yes, everything is read there, so okay.
Thank you. We are running out of time. That's true. But I think we have one question. I don't know if it can appear there. It's from Jaume. In order to enhance the dissemination of our outputs, don't you think that we could be a bit more user-friendly? Of course, for instance, we have a catalog organized around cryptic project names, but we have good answers to questions such as, do you want to be more efficient using water? We can help you with our online tool. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't know if, Jaume, would you like to add anything? Oh, there you go. I don't know if you would like to add anything, or maybe you can respond.
It's just to mention that to close the circle that we have talked about. We all speak the same German here. Okay. Sí.
Yes.
Thank you. So we speak our jargon, you know. We know that BlueMed means blah blah, gas water means blah blah, alter ego means blah blah. So, but we have to get to the ground and get to the sector. So we have to make this effort. I mean, for instance, I'm having all this catalog, which is a wonderful task, because it's a tool that we have to use, but. For instance, I'm thinking on, well, I'm going back home, so I want to use in my website to put, I have a toolkit for water, electricity, plastic, your party, your mobility, etc. But I have to translate everything here in this mind, because I think, I've been in some projects, from the beginning, we're not doing this effort to think on who's the user and how do we have to translate, to talk to them. It's just one step more, a step forward, to really capitalize and disseminate all this huge amount of money, because when I'm talking also to the stakeholders and say, okay, you have 2 million euros for this. Wow, that's a lot. How can I use it? So we have to respond to that answer. We are using lots of money compared to the normal budget the companies have or we, the DMOs, have. So if we don't just put this in value, they will ask us about, well, maybe it's more valuable to use it for something else. I've already had these questions, you know, so that's why I'm just sharing.
Thank you, Jaume.
May I?
Yes.
Okay.
First of all, I think that we are not using a lot of money because for the transferring projects, all of our organizations
money is, it was
needed
an option.
double the budget. It's true. So I don't think we have used a lot of money.
But what I think it's clear, it's correct. I think the question, and it's something that we didn't manage very well. I mean, systematization of information with a clear target, who will apply with keywords. It's a job, it's a work, it's something that we are not able to do because we are just always rushing at the end of the project. And also, for example, budget. For sure, if I have to transfer one of the innovative solutions that we apply as demonstration, green water treating and reusing grey water, and I put this information with the project information and say it was 2 million euro. 2 million euro to do this? No, I mean, this one, the cost, it was 10,000 euro. So all this work to organize information with keywords, and not the name of the projects, with keywords and try to communicate clearly in a project. Do you want this, on this, or you want all the package all together? And how is a work? Is not easy. And it's something that in some cases you do after the project yourself a lot of times. But it's pity because it's true that we should do. And the same, for this reason I was saying before, next generation project should be slow project because we need to do this exercise. Because also here we are talking with friends, colleagues that we meet all the times, and we know all these things, but we need to translate all this information outside of here. And I cannot use the same description of project because otherwise nobody will listen to me. So I completely agree with you.
It is definitely food for thought for the new programming period for all of us. I would like to thank the 6 of you and all of you for this session. It was very fruitful, and let's now go for lunch. Thank you very much.